The golden wolf's ears stood pointed, twitching in response to the sounds around it. Its meal finished, it's curled up into a ball, and it's in anticipation of that time, jawed, half from boredom. The old abandoned classroom had fulfilled its purpose many moons ago. For a month, the wolf had spent his time resting on top of a heap of disabled desks. His name was Luke Beowulf. He was a purebred werewolf, named after the son at his birthplace to the hero of legend upon leaving there. It goes without saying he was not from this country. He came from a land deep within the European wilderness, surrounded by mountains and forests. His homeland was a realm of no human had ever set foot in. In their isolated world forgotten by time, a diminished race of werewolves lived in peace. This was where Bia first appeared. In a cave on the outskirts of their village, the werewolves found a child bearing the same golden coat as their ancestors. The child was sleeping soundly, as if in his natural habitat. The village welcomed their new member with open arms. 2,000 years of a dancing civilization had been cruel to them. As the forest was destroyed, valleys unearthed, and waters polluted, the werewolf birth rate dwindled. They were now facing one birth a decade. The child's golden coat deviating from the typical gray or white and shared only by their ancestors who were treated as gods felt like a sign their prayers had been answered. A bloodline in atrophy. The werewolves were forced to embrace change. This radiant child at least temporarily made them forget about their troubles. Alas, as time passed, their hopes turned to disappointment. The golden wolf was not their salvation. For some reason, Lu, the ray of golden sun, remained a child. Decades passed and still he did not grow. Forever young, immortal, cursed. He searched the village for his birth mother, but to no avail. He searched the village for someone who understood his plight, but to no avail. Over hundreds of years, he came to realize something. He was different, very different. Neither male nor female, neither strong nor weak, ignorant of life and death, joy and fear. That thing's a spirit, born of nature. Might look like us werewolves, but don't let that fool you. But the child himself needed not conjecture to know his own true nature. He was perfect, and therefore he was alone. To the golden wolf, the world was too small. That was why. Indeed, that was the very reason. He wanted to know what life was. He wanted to know loss. If he was all-powerful, he wanted to know the mystery behind his all-powerfulness. Because as it was, his existence was meaningless. The golden wolf was at a loss, as were the werewolves around him. They revered him, but at the same time wanted nothing to do with him. Lu moved back to the cave.
太陽のルー？ルーガルじゃなくて？
The cave was discovered and resigned himself to a life of seclusion.
そりゃ面白い。偶然にしちゃできすぎだ。
And then one day a quirky mage visited the village.
またガタガタとうるさい。瞳子さんはあれだよね。派手好きなくせに豆だよね。
From his place on top of the rubble, Bia peered into the hallway. He thought his fussy master was busy dealing with the second city's flea lions, but she was engrossed in making traps. One month passed since she made that dilapidated building their makeshift workshop. Creating a new trap for intruders became a daily pursuit of Toka's.
安全を用意しておくなんて他の生き物は大変だ。
Having been like this since birth, no neither infancy nor dotage, he thought differently than others. For he was perfect from the day he was born, never declining, never improving. As such, he had no comprehension of weakness. Childlike, fickle, and without morals, he had no concept of good and bad as either a wolf or a human. A beautiful creature disconnected from the world around him, he was on top of all other creatures. With one exception, his master, Aoko Aozaki. She should show him a sparkling, delicious world. And above all, he found her scent refreshing. To him, the world was divided into what was cool and what was not. Your preference, leisure pursuits were of no consequence to him, and he never took gender into account. The only thing that mattered to him was whether a person's life was logical, and therefore, cool. Aoko Aozaki had her faults, but she smelled good.
レオ、昼食は済ませたか？
No, I'm looking at it, said Wolf. Bea's master entered the classroom, presumably done with her traps for the day.
夜が本番だ。それまであまり羽目を外すなよ。
Sometimes, like now, she would nag him, but on the whole, his master pleased him. In reality, the contrast biting her to him was not particularly powerful. If he wanted to, he could tear her to pieces at any time. No human could restrain him. Remember, he had no intention of killing Toko in exchange for his freedom. And there was a reason for this. In order to move about freely in human society, he needed someone like her. As long as she did not offend him, he had no reason to rock the boat. However,
やっと本番か。待たせ。
I was saying that but I promised she had made him an escape, but the reality of this, I can do this, right? Yeah.
やっと本番か。待たせすぎだよ。
I
瞳
forgot
子さん。
I forgot I roboted some things to mean that they're currently having a keyboard at the moment. Anyways, well, she had made him an escape, but the reality of the situation had begun to come apart at the seams.
来い。最高の神秘と戦わせてやる。
He was compliant up to now, but his patience was wearing thin. The newest magician last night was an enormous letdown.
そういうな。私も昨日は拍子抜けだったんだから。
いいけどね。実はあの子、使わないんじゃなくて、使えないだけじゃないの？
His master's expression turned serious. Not an agreement that the wolf's question, though. For she had already asked herself the same and many other similar questions.
いや、使うぐらいなら死んだ方がマシなのかもな。
Use what?
そんなバカなことがあるの？使わないと死んじゃう状態だったんだよ。
だからそんなバカな考えが成立するぐらい。
That must be too terrifying to use. Took a finish in her hand. She stopped short of voicing it and chuckled at their emotional outburst.
どれほどのものか想像がつかないのは確かだ。だがまあ根本は変わらないさ。魔法がどのような奇跡神秘の類であれ、魔術師である以上、青子に勝ち目はない。
With those words, Mio's master walked out of the room, emphasizing that his role in all this was to face Aoko only at that very moment.
魔法ね。
That bored look in his eyes shifted. He recalled the taste of that girl, his long tongue sliding over his chainsaw like fangs. Thank you. Making a mistake, he would finish his meal. He was the oldest werewolf, the golden god of the forest. For as long as he could remember. No, from the moment he appeared, he had been the most powerful creature of all. All man-made mystics were trash before him. Magecraft was laughable, and mystic, artificial miracles, which even surpassed that were superfluous, futile. Their very existence was an insult to him.
もちろんそういう契約だし、ちゃんと平らげはするけれど。
I was the extent of their pact. Once he had dealt with the so-called true magic, he was free. His eyes burned with a wolf inside of him. His fanged maw twisting into a sadistic, beastly grin. Right. Witch and the Holy Night, Part 2, Chapter 12. It was just past 7 p.m. Misaki High School's old building stood silently. While light from the city reached the area, the forest and mountains kept the area hushed. Nothing unusual. During winter vacation, the old building, now still covered in yesterday's snow, was rarely used. Without signs of life, such new structures were mere monuments of what once was. Nothing more. The old school building would remain that way until the start of the new semester. Behind it, the west forest grew darker by the minute. If the building had died in just after 2 weeks of vacation, what had become of forest over the years? The wall of overgrown trees filtered out the noise of the city, and most of the moonlight. An otherworldly realm had taken root, not even 2 miles away from town. Piercing the cold night air, footsteps crunched through the powdery snow.
この辺りに仕掛けはなさそうね。それでどうするの？このまま旧校舎に忍び込む？まさか私らがやってきたことなんてとっくにバレてるわ。隠れても意味はないし、何より敵のアジトに入ってどうするのよ。盗みが目的じゃないでしょ今回は。
Why the school uniform?
後ろから切りつけるのは強盗というのじゃなくて？
Always one sensible person is in a coat.
それができれば苦労はないんだけどね。まあ忍者の真似事は私というかそもそも
This is gonna be difficult. The last episode, wait for a keyboard, so I won't click like a maniac. Which I'm sorry for, by the way. Yeah?
やる気満々なのはこっちもあっちも同じってこと。
The sound of their footsteps stopped in unison. The old forgotten Misaki High School building stood before them. what used to be the schoolyard was now a barren snowscape. Reclaimed by the forest, the building looked a shell of its former self. The surrounding trees resembled static mourners at a funeral.
せっかちなお嬢さん方だ。タイムリミットまであと4時間はあるというのに。
Alone in the middle of the white altar was the lone scarred red mage. As she came out from the forest, Aoko lowered herself slightly, scowling at her distant target. Next to her, Alice stood motionless. The bare branches of the trees cast long, thorny shadows. Aoko was reminded of Sleeping Beauty, except this mage wasn't nearly as pleasant as the princess in that. Not to mention, she wasn't sleeping, and there was no prince. Regardless, this princess came out of their schoolhouse, castle to greet her challengers.
その体で無理をして。あなたのそういうところ、姉としてどうかと思うわ、青子。
Toko grinned faintly. Aoko fought back the urge to respond. Meanwhile, Alice stood in silence, uninterested in sibling rivalry. Aoko stood about 100 feet away. With their senses sharpened from magecraft and the silence of the forest, they could hear each other perfectly. The golden wolf was nowhere to be seen. Toko faced the two girls alone. Alice's black overcoat and winter hat were typical items of clothing for a mage battle. A few paces in front of her was Aoko, whose combat garb was comparatively out of place. A Misaki High School uniform. Yeah. And why is that? She had asked Alice to bring a change of clothes for her, but there must have been some misunderstanding. No, it was a trivial miscommunication. Toko seemed to think it had some special meaning.
ところで、始める前に一ついいかな。
Yeah?
気になって仕方がないし、この先機会もないだろうから聞くんだけど、あなたの戦闘服ってそれなの？青子。
Toko spoke clearly and, despite the distance, was able to communicate her deep-seated scorn without trouble. Aoko would rather attack than engage in small talk, but she decided to take the bait.
そんなわけないでしょ。今までこういう機会が多かっただけよ。数えるなら今日を含めて4回しかないわ。私はまだ現役だからそれも悪くはないかもしれないけど、いつか流行るでしょ、こういうのも。
Aoko was sure to emphasize her words. For a split second, Toko's eyes narrowed.
呆れたな。相変わらずのローセンスだ。
それはどうも。人形を実の妹に見立てる異常者にそう言われるなら、一周回って安心よ。
With that, the two fell silent and glared at each other. Their bloodlust cut through the thick, cold air like a knife. Jesus. I'm struggling. While the two of them seized each other up, Alice surveyed the area around Toko. There was no indication anyone or anything was lying in wait near her. Perhaps she could see if the werewolf was still in the old school building. Maybe Toko didn't feel like Aoko and Alice were much of a threat in their injured state. Or was she really not expecting a counterattack so early? So the werewolf wasn't ready? After some contemplation, Alice surmised it was the former. She really was going to fight alone. Her heart's no compromised her mystic eyes and ruined magecraft. That was more than enough to deal with Aoko and Alice in their current state. Alice, I only need this one shot. Aoko signaled to Alice behind her with the movement of her finger. Alice had no objections. The original plan was for her to keep the werewolf busy. With the mirror as a backup, Aoko was hoping to catch Toko off guard. They had a few other cards up their sleeves, but the fact remained that as mages, their attacks wouldn't affect the werewolf. So they decided to ignore it and focus on taking out the Toko. Not the best strategy, but it was all that few of them could come up with. But they had been thrown a curveball. Toko had the upper hand, so she was reluctant to use the beast. Aoko wasn't about to let this opportunity go to waste. By distracting Gary with the sibling batter, she would settle things before the werewolf even showed up.
じゃあ今度はこっちの番ね。どう？結界の張り直しは進んでる？
まさか昨日の今日よ。まだ手をつけてもいない。せいてはことを仕損じる。だいたい私の目的は霊脈の奥にあるもので、結界そのものじゃない。張り直しは予定にないさ。まあ土地を暴くなんて面倒な真似をするより、お前を暴いた方が早いのかもしれないが。
ふん、やっぱりそれが目的だったのね。ならなおのこと、あんたを魔法使いにするわけにはいかないわ。
Aoko's blue eyes burned brightly with a fiery fighting spirit. Even though her sister was ready to pounce, Aoko remained motionless, but from her mouth, it twisted into a smirk.
魔法使いか。確かにまだ執着はあるね。私には移植されなかった魔術刻印と青崎の伝える魔法の正体。だがもういいよ。惜しくはあるが、到達すればどちらも自分で用意できる。それとも今ここで私のために魔法の正体を見せてくれるのかい、青子。
Toka's words came out flatly, but her eyes mocked her sister. And it was true, however, that if Aoko wanted to defeat Toka, her best chance would be to use this mysterious true magic. The only problem was that she couldn't. If she could, she would have used it to avoid being mauled last night. Aoko Aozaki couldn't use true magic. Toka believed she needed to fulfill some kind of condition. The protection their grandfather placed in the formula was to prohibit miracles from being easily realized. Remember, that wasn't because he was concerned about the human world. It was no exaggeration to say he do feel nothing at magic level the entire city. The truth was, true magic never had any conditions. Aoko was being held back by trauma. These 5 privileges, the only powers of their kind, were bound by cognitive seals. That's why Toko looked down on her naive little sister. So weak, a body incapable of handling magic could be cut down with a mere sword. Aoko knew that better than anyone else, which is why she couldn't forgive her sister's ridicule. Just try using true magic, huh? Oh, show the true magic with these myself. A pathetic taunt. If that's how she wanted to play it, then so be it.
ええ、お望みとあらばね。
With a burst of pure rage, Aoko made her move. Their colorless shoes sped across the entire snowfield. Nice beats. Like a stone skipping across the water. As Aoko charged forward, she disappeared. All her footprints advanced, like bullet holes in the snow. Toko held her ground. Concealment was elementary magecraft. More than likely, the power came from one of Alice's trinkets. It was a simple yet effective countermeasure to Mystic Eyes. Toko's Mystic Eyes used the lock property to bite an opponent. It did not have the Logos property to discern truth through an illusion. Once the magecraft's workings were revealed, its weakness was exposed.
足癖が悪いのも変わらず。
In mere 4 seconds, your opponent has closed 10 yards and was still speeding up. It appeared that she had given up on the mage battle and was going to move in for melee. That girl, Alice Kuonji, did not take a single step.
被弾覚悟の特攻。アリスから5歩でももらっているのでしょうけど、反省なさい、青子。切り札というものは、あくまで自己の力によるものを言うのよ。
Sneering, Toko raised her left arm, holding it out in front of her threateningly. 10 more yards. Fortunately, her footprints gave away her position.
そう。
Toko began engraving a rune into the air, but before she could finish, Aoko's footprint stopped. She was still too far away for close combat. What a strange place to enter attack. No, wait, surely he stopped so suddenly at that speed?
飛んだか。
Toko made a snap decision. She quickly raised her outstretched arm towards the sky as if saluting the moon.
添える。
Flames roared through the air. The rune carved into the body above her, bidding it in a pillar of flames. No internal resistance spell could help. Rather than simply burning their target, the runes wrapped them in a wreath of flame. The assailant screamed, falling onto the snow-covered ground. Robin. In agony, she extended the burning hand out from the hellish fire, as if begging for mercy. It was the stuff of nightmares. The snow melted as the fire burned the attacker alive. The moment was far too theatrical to be Aoko. Aoko had already turned her gaze to Alice. She hadn't been watching the burning corpse at all. Aoko knew it wasn't Aoko from the moment the body fell to the ground.
ワインスターの使い魔は何匹いる。
Irritated, Toko glared at Alice. While Aoko had vanished into the thin air, she hadn't moved at all. Blue energy traced a circle around where she stood. It was forged to forge, a 4-bar grand magecraft, mobilizing her magic crest. Toko only had single action runes. No, she hadn't mastered anything about 2 bars to begin with. This torrent of energy was too much to handle.
言わず。
The rune formed in the magic circle. I was. The rune of withdrawal was evoked and Aoko's concealment was undone, allowing Toko to utilize her mystic eyes. Hey there. Within her open pupil, the infinitely mirrored eyes captured her target in an endless hell. But the mage's sight was literally split in two. The space in front of Aoko distorted, obscuring her form like an icy mist. If Toko's eye was like opposite mirrors, And this was like sticking a one-way mirror at that triangular point. When her vision split in two, she couldn't lock onto Aoko.
誤水の鏡の効果よ、瞳子さん。青子は鏡のY路地の奥にいる。一本道から見ているあなたに中心は見渡せない。
Alice explained without concern. Due to the herb Toko made Alice swallow, she was still unable to use her own magecraft. However, she could use points already in motion without using magical energy, such as the Mantis Mirror and the aimless little blue bird. Finally, the magic bullet was loaded.
セット、ルート、ディレクトカーラット。
Dabble. Raising her right arm to reveal her luminescent crests, Aoko took aim at her target 100 feet ahead. Magical energy coursed through her gun barrel arm. From the moment she had received Alice's invincibility, Aoko had begun chanting her magecraft. It took a few seconds to notice. Aoko produced some more spins of the arrogant magic circuits than she had ever done before. She did not snap nor draw. Instead, she advanced past her third process, a compression of magical energy. Magic blow. If she fired the blue adder that gathered before her, it would fly with a force of 10 tons. Using her magic wrist to multiply the energy and machine gun her target, it was enough power to demolish even the old building behind her.
Taka!
Aoko stared intensely at her sister, ready to fire. Toko had no time to counterattack, or even the speed to evade. The fact she didn't move implied she knew that better than anyone. Acceptance filled her eyes, not fear. Aoko didn't hesitate. She squeezed the trigger in her right hand.
ツアープラン、スターマイン、カイロ、放て！
The last word came out like a scream. Under the impact of the adder, the strike so melted and flew around. Aoko was engulfed in dirt. No way she could survive Aoko's magic bullet. It contained every bit of Aoko's magical energy she could muster. Viewing the chaos, Aoko confirmed her victory. And yet, somehow she felt better. Nah, it can't be that easy. But then, yeah. Choosing to do with the torrent of magical energy she swallowed up later, Toko attended Aoko's childishness. And disappointment was so deep it bordered on despair. Of course.
学ぶにしては遅すぎたが、まあ聞いておけ青子。切り札というものは先に出した方の負けなんだよ。
Her voice cold and aloof, she was completely unscathed. The mage stood in the snowfield, not a single speck of dirt on her overcoat. Just before the bullet reached Toko, she deflected it with magical energy at the same level. Aoko could only stare at the scene before her. The negation of her magecraft hadn't shocked her though. Leaf-like objects floated behind her sister. Aoko stared like she was living a nightmare. Countless magic crests forged out from Toko's back. It all happened in an instant. The magic bullet approaching like a tsunami. Toko lightly snapped her fingers, causing a stream of letters to rush out from behind her. Next became art. Golden flowers bloomed. There must have been hundreds. All sorts of magecraft from even beyond Western Europe. The kind normally carved into the flesh of a mage. The kind Aoko Aozaki shouldn't possess. The kind only followers of those schools should know. Blossoming magic rests, brighter than the moon. Inscribed in the air, they form the totem pole, a guardian beast, to protect Toko.
To, まあこういうわけだ。
Yeah.
ベオだけに頼ってはいないことがよくわかったろ。
Toko's expression was steely. Actually, it was in her grasp, and there was no room to rest on her laurels.
姿を隠したのは鏡の応用か。探知や隔離だけでなく援護まで行えるとはね。三大のプロイには含まれないものの、汎用性の面で言えばあれも破格のプロイだな。
持ち上げるじゃない。何？騙された負け惜しみ？
いや、ただの自画自賛だよ。何しろ今のバージョンは私とマインスターの合作だ。趣味に興じすぎてあれこれと機能を足してしまったと今更ながら悔いているところさ。その後、青子に見せかけて私に向かってきたのは例のコマドリ。それに気を取られている間の大規模な魔術の発動。私の魔眼はアリスが防ぎ、青子は攻撃だけに専念する。組み立ては悪くはない。よくやったと言っておくよ。
Toko recounted the strategy, sharing her impressions as she went. Aoko could not take her eyes off Toko's blooming magic crafts. Only Alice was paying close attention to Toko's words.
しかし、それもここまでだ。惜しいな、青子。わずか2年であれだけの魔術を使えるのなら、あと数年もすれば一流の車種になっていただろうに。
Toko snapped her fingers again. The floating crests began to glow more brightly.
アリス、あれは何？
Aoko whispered to Alice, standing next to her as she held her hand. She could not risk turning around. The second she took her eye off Toko, the fight would be over.
見ての通り魔術刻印よ。信じられないけど。
Alice's voice was filled with shock and discomfort. Aoko shared Alice's sentiment. Magic rests were passed down through a family line and took unique forms. At heart, they were merely personalized inscriptions, and technically no different from grimoires. However, the reality was far different. Magecraft had no set form. Without a set shape, the ability to recreate mystics was itself flawed. To craft it into a form required an immeasurable investment of time and devotion. Magic rests were the crystallization of a family's desires and ambitions, and proof of a successive lineage. Crests had no effects on their own, but they were the ultimate symbol of a family. If no mage was willing to imbue themselves with the crest, or lacked the resolve to merge with it, then the crest's meaning was lost. That was the key difference between the crest and a mere spellbook. Crests could not be shared, and intimidating them was pointless. It all stood to reason then. That even if the crest manifesting behind Toko belonged to someone else, Only the original owner could benefit from them.
でも確かに私の魔弾はあの刻印からの魔術で弾かれた。あれはもしかすると。
Tested for answers, Aka squinted her eyes as she glared at Toka. She knew that copying a crest had no purpose. Only the original inheritor could invoke one. There was only one possible conclusion.
そう、肌に刻まず中空に浮かべてるのはそういうこと。
Aka spent a curse at her sister. Toka nodded, pleased at her enemy's quick wit.
ああ、この体には合わないのでな。私の背後の空間に固定している。本当はね、お前たちのように肉に刻んだ方がいいんだ。魔術の起動が一動作で済むんだから。だが実際に使用するのならこうするしかない。起動までの手順は一つ増えるが、何、マイナスばかりでもない。所詮は人事なんでね。痛みは全く感じない。
And it seemed neither physically nor mentally. Aka knew her sister wasn't human, but she never thought she would go this far.
合うわけないじゃない。他人の魔術刻印を剥がしてるんだから、血筋の称号からして馴染むはずがないわ。で、奪われた連中は死ぬこともできず、今もどこかに生かされているわけだ。刻印の持ち主が死んだら起動すらできないものね、それ。
瞳子さん、あなた。
非難される覚えはないんだが、私はかかる火の粉を払っただけだよ。向こうから戦いを挑んできたんだから、戦利品ぐらいは用意してもらわないと。まあ、中にはつまらない単語を口にしたバカ者もいるが、それはそれだ。むしろ優しいと思うけどね。私を殺しに来た連中をわざわざ生かしてあげてるんだから。
その魔術師たちがちゃんと人間の形をしてることを祈るわ。肉親として。
お前ね、私を何だと思ってるんだ。脳だけ保存とか、面倒だから100人ひとまとめにした肉塊とか、そんな手抜きなんぞするものか。きちんとカフェを用意して、食事も娯楽も睡眠も自由に提供してるんだぞ。中には一生ここで暮らしたいなんて騒ぎ立てるバカもいるぐらいだ。
Toka's words were hardly believable. But it was clear her crests weren't copies. As his scowl deepened, what Toka had described had no discernible benefit in her mind. Why had she gone to the trouble of stealing other mages' crests? It would have been more efficient to break down the crests into components and make replicas. For a skilled puppet master like Toka, she could have made a bunch more powerful puppets with those crests. It would have made the pawn loyal to her every command at that. Much more useful than any enslaved mage.
なんでそんなことを。
そういう人なのよ、姉貴は。これで行くと決めたらそれしか目に入らない人なの。家庭より結果の人なの。ある日の話よ。テレビでピザの CM をやっててさ、私たちは唐突にあのデブ食を食べたくなった。でも悲しいかな。一般家庭であるうちにあったのはサラミだけ。うちの実家、山奥にあるの知ってるでしょ。町まで行くのに1時間はかかる。中学1年だった私は我慢できなくて町まで行ったけど、ピザ屋なんか一軒もなくてとぼとぼ帰ったの。
It was the tragedy of living at the countryside. Mataga Hevich had only recently gotten the conveyor belt sushi restaurant, would not see a pizzeria for another 2 years.
なのに骨折り損で家に帰ったら姉貴のやつおかえりとか手を振ってピザ食べてやがったのよ。おせんべいを下地にしてみたわとか言って、外見たら鳥3羽と牛1頭丸々消えてて、ああこの女には10日交換とか手間とかお金の問題とかそういうの一切頭にないんだって思い知らされたわ。
Alice agreed that was pretty crazy.
そんな無茶なやつだからガンド打ちで目に見える傷跡を出そうなんて平気で考えるのよね。あんなのゲマトリア一節分の栄唱で同じ効果を出せるのに、あくまで呪術にこだわるから空も飛べない人形になるのよ、バカ兄貴。
The puppet doppelganger made her blood boil. It was clear to Aoko now that Aoko had done it on purpose to annoy her. Aoko furrowed her eyebrows at Aoko's verbal assault. But she had been swaying up until now. But speaking rudely about her prized puppet was crossing the line.
その人形に追い詰められたのはお前だったね。
I mean, it's kind of creepy that you made an almost an exact replica of Aoko, and then tried to kill her, so she kind of has you right.
それとゲマトリアはカバラの秘術だ。私はルーン専門だからお前のように広く浅く知識を広める気はないよ。まあもっともこの刻印の所有者の一人からケルトの結界を教わりはしたがね。
Aoko looked at a crest over her left shoulder. Its shine was ever radiant, proving that its mishcraft was still active.
これは城で祖父を封じ込めるのに使っていてね。半人半用のドルイド層を閉じ込めたとまではいかないが、そうだな。私では郵便ポストぐらいの大きさが限界か。ほら、昔お前が壊した赤いポスト。ちょうどあれぐらいの可愛い鳥小屋だよ。人間一人分をしまうには窮屈だろうが、祖父は肉体というより霊体に近い。見ようによってはそっちの方がふさわしいかもしれないね。
Aoko stifled a sinister laugh, her explanation chilling. Her cold veneer seemed to slip slightly when it came to her grandfather. That smile betraying the long, festering hatred she still clung to.
そういったわけでね、先の青子の魔術を防いだので、この刻印もしばらくは使用不能なんだ。今のが本当の魔法だったなら、わずか3行の刻印では打ち消せなかっただろうに。青子、お前は僅差で負けたんだ。恥じることはないよ。じゃあ、そろそろ終わりにしよう。抵抗をするのは自由だが、ベオ相手にそれはつらいぞ。
Aoko snapped her fingers one more time. What a sore loser. The girl werewolf was hiding in this old school building. The signal to him echoed eerily through the surrounding woods. Before the echo stopped, Aoko shouted back at Alice.
行ってアリス
The order sounded like a reprimand, but Alice silently obeyed. Without hesitation, she left Aoko behind to handle Toko, and made for the forest. If the feat was inevitable, it would be pointless for both of them to die. If one of them could survive, there could be a round free. That was why Aoko decided to be the sacrificial pawn.
トウコ自身の切り札も分かったし、 アリスが本調子になれば勝てない相手じゃないものね。
Aoko muttered bitterly to herself as Alice's feet crunched through the snow. Instead of cursing her own death, she cursed the fact she would not see Alice defeat Toko. Stop doing the bear that. What else was there to curse except this? Alice disappeared into the forest. Feeling her fellow mage's presence fade, Aoko continued to glare at her sister.
いつまでじらす気？私、待たされるのは好きじゃないんだけど。
Speaking of waiting, the werewolf Toko had called was nowhere to be seen. It should not have taken him more than a few seconds to come flying out of the old school building.
そうせくな。今赤ずきんを追っているところだ。黒帽子の彼女をそう例えるのはやや無理があるがね。
Her tone reeked of irony. The words traveled aimlessly across the schoolyard like a rambling announcement. Aoko stood frozen and dumbfounded. Everything Toko was saying seemed so far away from reality.
Alice!
Aoko was done with being fooled, so she turned around. The moonlight shining off of the fallen snow allowed her to see far into the forest. From the wide darkness, a lone boy came into view, walking towards her. He could not have been any taller than Aoko's chest, but he carried Alice over his shoulder with ease. As if she was nothing, he tossed her body upward. She arched through the air for several feet before dropping headfirst before Aoko's eyes. Her neck would snap on impact. Even though she was wiser not to, Aoko reached out and caught her. Alice's light body weighed heavy as she fell into Aoko's arms. The stitches in her wounds tore, dyeing Aoko's arms crimson. Aoko gritted her teeth, fighting the pain that shot through her body and the sensation of the warm blood.
Alice, 無事。
Alice did not respond, but Aoko could see she was at least conscious. The werewolf must have ambushed her right after she ran into the woods. Alice bled heavily from where the wolf tore her abdomen open last night, just like he had done to Aoko.
初めから森に潜ませていたとはね。
Cursing her own carelessness, she gently laid Alice's body down. She set her sights on the blood-haired boy, her new target.
つまりあれよね。甘く見ていたふりで初めから余裕なかったんだ。
Even in the face of Aoko's rage, he did not stop smirking. He stared back at the girls, eyes gleaming, twinkling with excitement at the brutality to come. The blonde hair and green eyes she saw last night, and his effeminate features now, seemed ethereal, like he had changed into a being from another planet.
レオ、今日は食っていいぞ。
Toko's voice echoed from afar. No! Wait, I'm gonna press an arrow set. What does this lead me to? Out of nowhere. Then why did the man appear? The boy's grin broadened. Nobody could have expected what came next. Aoko rushed first at the boy. Faster than the robin decoy. The decoy, she's mad, blood dripping from both arms. Toko watched wide-eyed at the spectacle. Alice could only look on with wicked eyes as she lay helplessly on the ground. The werewolf boy was caught off guard by the prey becoming predator. Aoko crossed a 20-foot gap and the second before planting a foot in the snow. It arrested her momentum and pivoted her body like a top. Even if he instantly understood what was coming, the boy wouldn't be able to dodge in time. Using the momentum from her sprint, she pushed her leg into the ground and sprang up. With deadly timing, her roundhouse kick swung in a wide arc towards the boy's neck, sending an explosion of force to his brainstem. It was an expert display of martial arts, stranded by magical energy. She got the hang of close combat while fighting Togo's puppets. The violent kick was powerful enough to shatter a tree trunk. The boy did not move. Aoko's right shin connected firmly and stopped. A shockwave rippled through his neck. It was the same feedback Aoko had felt when she destroyed the puppet. Even if he wasn't defeated, she had to have severely damaged his spine. As she looked at him to confirm her kill, the boy simply stared back at her, not even bothering to twitch an eyebrow.
お姉さんの右足は確か噛み切った方だ。
Yeah, it wanted its revenge, so...
それで首を狙ったのはすごいよね。女の人は本能的に自分の体をかばうものだって瞳子さんは言ってたのに。けど残念。せっかくの勇気も無駄でした。僕の体毛の質はこの姿でも変わらない。産毛だけでもお姉さんの蹴りを受け止めることはできる。
Well, you have some strong hair gel, my boy. The only one hurt between the two was Aoko. The leg she had lodged in his neck was totally numb, like it had been shot clean off with a hatchet.
それに少しだけ迷いがあったな。くっつけたばっかりの足だからかばったでしょ。人間が僕の相手をするならそんなこと気にしちゃいけないのに。ああ、でも。
Yeah. The boy smiled, basking in Aoko's shock and awe. She could not free her leg? Oh. Oh, that as soon as she began her footing, he would tear her stomach open.
どっちにしろミンチだから気にしても仕方がないよね。
Yeah, I guess not.
ほら、もったいない。せっかく治ったばかりなのに。
What the fuck? Aoko was not sure, but it felt like he had sunk his finger into the flesh of her right leg. It was right about her leg. She barely had any feeling in it. It had been completely paralyzed after the last attack and was now back in the same hard state. Except this time, instead of being torn to pieces, it had been crushed to the bone. Her leg might have been numb, but just the look of it was enough to horrify her. The way it was crumpled, all that blood. It's making me cringe. I'm just imagining it. And a normal person would have died from shock. As if thinking about someone else, I considered how cruel magic risks could be.
あれ？まだ目が死んでない。
Yeah. Bitches don't give up.
あんまり苦しめたくないんだけど。頑丈なのも考えものだよ。
Yeah.
お姉さん。
You're crazy, so no. That boy pressed his head out at Aoko's chest. No consciousness flickered from the sudden pain of a stake. No, a child's fist piercing your torso. The scenery flew by. She soared through the air like a rag doll tossed away by a bored child. Just like Alice a moment ago, she tumbled through the air and hit the ground hard. Her right leg was crushed, her chest caved in. It is vibes as if her heart had been scoped after her chest. Each gasp of breath left her wanting more. Was this what it was like to see stars? The terrifying part of it was the pain. It never let up. Desperately trying to suck in oxygen, she could still feel his fist. Leisurely, the boy strolled across the snow towards Aoko's broken body. Yata. His dead tongue gliding over his lips. He stared at his prey who was desperately trying to breathe, his eyes filled with glee. Nose. Aoko bent down to the temptation to drift away, even though she could find no reason to fight on. The snow had broken her fall slightly, but her death was all but certain. The fist-sized crater in her chest and her mangled leg made sure of that. Even though she knew she was a broken mess, her magic wrists frantically worked to resuscitate her heart. But why? What? The sound of Toko in the distance was the only thing that kept her conscious. Why are you shocked? Her sister looked surprised for some reason. Like she was witnessing some strange phenomenon. That wasn't like her. Wondering what it was. Good time to end the episode. We're gonna see whatever. Why is everyone shocked around here now? Also, subscribe. It's free. Thank you.